we walk into a protectionist phase in the world, aren't we? I mean, it's all about job preservation. So, for instance, in the oil business, Brazil has this new regulation that you have to have 75% of Brazilian content, okay, to be able to explore the oil.
Talk to us about Brazil. Brazil was the last countries to feel the economic recession, and one of the first to come out of it.
Yes.
What's going on down there? Is it simply because of the demand for commodities, or is it something else?
No, I think, as I said before, you know, thanks God, Fernando Henrique, our former president, during his 8-year tenure, he repaired Brazil. We did our TARP in 1996.
Right, right.
The banks have adult supervision.
Right.
So our banks in Brazil, they literally hide profits. They are totally under-leveraged. We have lived, I'm a businessman that have lived Brazil as a country that lived from hand to mouth. Today, you know, connected to the world's markets, we're having access to capital.
And it has a history of inflation, too.
That was corrected during Fernando Henrique's tenure, his zero inflation program. And then when Lula came in 2002, he simply, you know, his main thing that Lula did was to respect the rule of law, respect the contracts.
Yeah, because of his background, when Lula came in, many people expected him to be a different president than he was.
Yes, yes. He says it himself. He laughs about it. The best thing that I did is I changed. He changed.
And how did he change, and who's responsible for his evolution?
By electing Alencar, his vice president. Alencar is a businessman, a very successful businessman in the textile industry. When he brought him along to be his vice president, with that move, he brought all the rest of the society together, a part of it at least, to win the elections. And he realized that it's a mix of, you know, you have to have social policies, of course, but let businessmen let entrepreneurs run our country. He understood that finally, because we needed to exorcise the left. Every South American country, or I mean, you look at the history maybe of Spain with Felipe González, you know, the left part of.
Right.
The other neighbors, for instance, Venezuela went to Chavez, populism. Argentina went to populism. Thanks God we got, and Lula says it himself, thanks God I wasn't elected before, you know, thanks God he only came into power in 2002. He jokes about it when he speaks about this. So, coming on 2002, with his change in accepting the free enterprise as part of building a nation, that was the big change for the country.
What do you think of the United States' economic future in this new world economic order?
You know, if one looks from the outside, I see very much gridlock here, political gridlock. I think America only performed well when there were big national projects like the construction of the highways. So you have to start thinking out of the box. Democracy, you know, and I believe in democracy, but let me tell you something that few people realize. In Brazil, our president has what presidential decrees, laws that allow him to implement emergency measures for 6 months. That's exactly what he did when the world went into trouble in 2008. You know, allowing the banks to issue, put liquidity into the system. And that's why Brazil came out so much faster than everybody else. And these medidas provisórias, these MPs, as we call them, they enforce for 6 months, and obviously if they work, Congress approves them automatically. So we have a dictatorial, very powerful presidential system in Brazil, though being a democracy. Is as if Obama would have had the right to push through. I think he can only go to war, right? I mean,
yes, well, he should ask permission of Congress to go to war. That's
okay.
But it's been challenged, and people, when they define what the president is doing, it becomes murky.
So Paulson, if you read, you know, if you hear what he says, is he didn't have the the powers to bail out Lehman, right?
That is in fact what he says.
So, you know, Brazil, no, Brazil, and interesting,
in Brazil, the power would have been there.
And there's there's another system in Brazil, because we still have big public banks. You know, the Brazilian Development Bank, BNDES, is the world's largest development bank. They deployed $100 billion in projects.
What's the level of foreign investment in Brazil today?
You know, per year, you mean?
Yeah.
Every year? Well, 2009, I think, was $30 billion. It's not big if you compare it to China, but these numbers are going to be, I mean, I see this year at least 50 billion. It's increasing.
If China doesn't let its currency appreciate, what are the implications of that?
Well, China, I mean, I've been to China many times in the last 3 years, and, you know, beware, whatever the Chinese produce, beware, because they're going to throw it at you with quality and low prices. So in the case of Brazil, I mean, it's a great joint venture, because they need so many products that they don't have, you know, have things that they don't have.
Mainly commodities.
Commodities, yes.
Yeah.
Very difficult for Brazil to sell. Even aircraft, I don't know if you know, but Embraer...
It's a very successful story now.
In Brazil?
Yes.
Yes, but see, Embraer built a factory in China, and now they have an identical copy, you know, the next...
So they're not selling any planes to the Chinese?
Soon, no. So the Chinese will have their own planes. They will have copied the Brazilian plane. That's, you know, China, China, you have to... You know, my view of China is, if you believe in history, I think by the year 800 after Christ, they had half of the world's GDP. Charlie, I think in the next 20, 30 years, they're back to the 50% of the world's GDP.
Do you really?
I really believe so.
They will be by the year 20 what? The world's largest economy.
Oh. Not
per capita, but in aggregate.
Yes.
In 15, 20 years.
Yes.
The world's largest economy.
Yes. Look, they execute so well. They have they're forming PhDs, professors. They're into material sciences. They're putting patents out in all different sciences. It's fascinating. I've been visiting car manufacturers. I've been visiting steel plants, railway car factories. I mean, they have the CNR, China National Rail. In 8 days, they produce everything that Brazil needs for a whole year. It's just so gigantic.
What's interesting about Brazil, too, and Lula, he made a trip to Central America. Brazil seems to, with its economic success, really want to say we are first among equals in Latin America.
Yes, yes, yeah.
We are the most important player in this continent.
I think Brazil is liked. You know, we're good soccer players.
Yes.
creates immense goodwill.
Enormously feel great pride about soccer, the World Cup coming.
Yes.
And great pride about the Olympics coming.
Yes, Olympics a big change. Yeah.
And what do you want to make Rio become?
Well, I'm investing. You know, self-esteem was something that we have lost in Brazil and Rio.